Hey, 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 and we're live. I think it actually worked. Woohoo! See, there's a first time for everything. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Alicia Sakura, and I would love to introduce to you Mrs. Shelby Hawkins. Oh no, that's not working. I gotta pull it up. Okay, so Shelby is a mama. She's currently completing her life coaching certification. She's gutting and totally remodeling a house, what, 100-year-old house, something like that. She's getting ready to take over two different family businesses, a paving business and a farming business. She volunteers with her church, leads Bible study groups, leads book clubs, mentors the youth, and has started a mentorship program from scratch, something she is starting all on her own, going out there and getting people involved and going and talking and interviewing and asking and all these things. It's a program I am so excited about, and I know she is too. This woman is going to change the world. And she does it all with this huge, beautiful smile on her face. She teaches me something new every time I talk to her. And it just goes to show you it does not matter your age, but what is your heart. All right, I am so excited to introduce you to one of my beautiful, good friends, Mrs. Shelby. Hi, Shelby.
I sound like so flattering.
It is so much stuff, see? All right, so hopefully everyone can hear me okay. If you have any questions or you want to join the conversation, let us know in the chat, and I will try to monitor that at the same time. Shelby, can you briefly describe the certifications you are currently working on and just briefly describe the new mentorship program that you are starting?
Yeah, so right now I'm currently doing a program not only for life coaching, but also for becoming an NLP practitioner, which NLP stands for neuro-linguistic programming. So it's kind of the how-to and psychology behind life coaching tactics and why they work based on psychological studies. And so doing the NLP and life coaching study. And then what was the other one? Me mentoring.
Your mentorship program, yeah.
Right. Okay. So life coaching is more of a like outside sort of thing, and really like in my heart I just really love Jesus, and so I am using what I have currently already learned from my NLP and life coaching, done a lot of praying, and felt like the best use for those skills would be to show how Jesus has already shown us that those are the ways that we can love on people. So I am using those life coaching and neurolinguistic programming skills to lead the youth in the next generation into their adulthood by starting them off with these practices and how Jesus has already taught them to us. So.
Wow, that is amazing. See, my friends, she is going to change the world. And what a better place to start than with our youth, right? They need this in this crazy time more than ever, a rock to stand on. All right. So you are all here for some goals, not maybe goal setting advice, but how to achieve what you want to achieve in 2021, right? And the old saying goes, if you want something done, you ask a busy person. So I thought, who better than to ask than one of the busiest mamas I know? All right, so let's start off. We have known each other for a very long time, and you are not exactly the girl that I remember from a while ago. And I have to say, I am so proud of who you are and who you are becoming and who you will be in the future. I once asked you what changed, like why, like what flipped that switch in you? Would you mind talking about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'd love to. So kind of what changed, well, to reiterate before, so I'm still kind of a baby to real life. I still call myself a rookie. But when I was a teenager, of course, I was a typical Gen Z cusp millennial teenager, and very flaky, very forgetful, kind of just only cared about my own life. And I actually had a friend call me out on that. We had plans to do something, and I canceled on her just because I just felt like canceling. And she was like, yeah, I'm kind of used to it. You're a pretty flaky person. And I was like, what? Me? Flaky? Oh my gosh. But I really got to thinking about that, and I was like, you know what? I am super flaky and super forgetful. So, but I don't want to be that. I don't want that to be my label. So what do I do about that? And so that was probably when I was about 17. And so since then, I have kind of made it my life's ambition and a hobby, I guess, along with a lot of other life ambitions, clearly, to be better at managing my time and being organized. And it has really just like not only broadened my horizons, but really shown me what is possible when you focus and prioritize, and also the amount of things that come along with that, that you can build off of. So it's like opening a door to a bunch of other doors, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. I love what you said about what is possible when you focus. So I just finished reading Eat That Frog, and every single chapter starts a quote, and every single quote is something about being focused. So for those of us scatterbrains out there, how do you do it? What is the first step of getting focused?
So I would say the first thing is know your learning style. So there's 3 different learning styles: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. And you can be more than one, but those 3 things refer to how you, or your favorite way to retain information. You retain information in all 3 ways. But when you find out your natural favorite one, you can kind of play into that hand. So I am actually a kinesthetic learner, which is a good example for anyone who is auditory or visual, because it's kind of both. So for a kinesthetic person, the way I actually learn to remember things, if that makes sense, is to write them down. So for an auditory person, it may be better if someone reads your calendar off to you, like if you have an Alexa or something like that. And if you're a visual person, seeing it on your help you. However, being a kinesthetic person, the action of writing it down is what helps me to remember. But either way, using a planner, why that's such an important thing to do, such a big thing, is because it helps with all 3 of those different ways of learning things. So first tip, I guess, for the scatterbrain person would be use a
So do you have your planner on you by any chance? Do you have it next to you?
I just actually just started writing it back in it again. I was doing some prayer. We all know 2020 has been crazy, and God was like, I'm going to need you to set your planner aside for a little while. So there's probably not much to see right now. But I usually have like a hour by hour dedication of things. But I will say my planner looks very unique because I do what's called time blocking, but I make sure to fill in with contingency time. That's kind of like giving God room, I guess, for him to step in and tell me what I need to be doing, or to pivot if something changes during the day.
So I love that. Time blocking is another one of those that people kind of throw out there all the time, and that you need to time block, you need to time block. So would you mind kind of describing what time blocking is and how you use it? And then what you just said, like things change, right? You're a mom and chaos happens. So what happens? Like, how do you adjust? How do you flux? How do you use time blocking?
Yeah. So biggest thing that I had to learn was time blocking, because I really like to plan. I love for everything to have a plan, but biggest thing that I had to learn was this is not written in stone. When you time block, it is kind of just like, this is what I could do today to get the most out of my day. So basically what you're doing when you're time blocking, I like to use different colored pens or highlighters or whatever. But when you're time blocking and you get your planner, in your planner, you want to have where it says like 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Like you want to actually have your time down the page for you. There's actually a tool if you have any sort of Apple product. The calendar that comes on the Apple product comes with a time blocking tool for you and lets you do it by calendar. So that's kind of my favorite way to do it because you can add people to it and overlap things. But anyway, so you want to make sure that you have your times listed out beside you, and then you want to fill in blocks, so time blocking, for what you're going to be doing during that time, and you give yourself a start time and an end time. So I've even gone as far with my time blocking as, okay, I have a certain task at from 12 to 12:30, and then my next task starts at we'll say 1:15, and depending on where that task is, I've even been known to time block my travel time between there. So and I do like to do that because it lets you know in your contingency time. But then, so on that note, with contingency time, so as you're scheduling your day, doing that time blocking, you never want to butt the times up next to each other because you just never know when something's going to happen. So they always say if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So, but part of the failure of planning is that we think that our plans are going to stay our plans. So that's why I say, you know, that contingency time kind of gives God room, because I like to go, for some reason, I can't think and do at the same time. I either need to think or I need to do. So that contingency time, if something changes, gives you a chance to think, rewrite your schedule for the day, and then do. And being able to not think and do at the same time gives you that first level of productivity, which is efficiency. So then that makes you more efficient in whatever task you're performing.
Right. Makes total sense. So when do you plan out your day? When do you start planning your day?
Usually I do it, well, there's like 3 different sessions, I guess. So I start filling in things that, you know, you have your like regular tasks that you do consistently. So like my daughter, she goes to Mother's Day out twice a week. So that's something that I put in there every week. Any like clubs or after school extracurricular activities, whatever, things that, you know, I go fill those into my calendar sometimes a month before, but usually 2 weeks before for sure. And then usually the next time I look at it and actually do any sort of editing is the night before or a Sunday afternoon. It kind of just depends on how full it is for that week. So I glance at it, of course, all the time, but the editing is either on Sunday afternoon or the night before. And then the next day, if something were to change. So like an example of something in my life that would change is my husband, he paves, and they can't work if it's raining outside. So if we wake up the next morning and it has poured down rain overnight to the point where they can't work that day, that opens up a whole new set of possible things that we could do that day. So you do always have to look at it first thing in the morning, but I really love to go through it that morning and really like memorize what it is that I'm doing that day so that the thinking is done first thing in the morning and then you do the rest of the day.
So what I hear you saying is when you're going to be the most productive and efficient with your time, you're not just like flying by the seat of your pants and, you know, you get a free minute and you're like, what am I going to fill this minute with? But you have pre-planned in advance what you want to get done for the next day.
Yeah, so those little moments, I think that was from your live yesterday, those are like big self-education times for me, but I do account for those little moments. So I actually just have like a side list on my planner of tiny little things that I want to do, that if I find a spare second, that's where I fill those in at. But as far as prioritizing, which is what we're talking about, those are the things that aren't on a priority list. They're just like fun little things that I want to do. So there are things that are kind of at the bottom of the list that I'm like, hey, if I can fit this in, that would be fun. So
cool. What's an example of a, if I can fit it in, it'd be fun task for you?
So I read a lot, and I try to read like 3 or 4 books at a time. And usually I have 2 that are like helping me reach a goal, but then there's like one or an audio or a podcast or something there that I just like to listen to for fun. I am really big about whatever I'm doing has to be moving the needle, but sometimes for, even just self-care purposes, it's good to just do things for fun. So I have that list of just fun things. So like a fun podcast that if I have a 10-minute drive where I'm not going to get a good chunk of an audio book in or something, then that's what I do. I'll listen to that.
It is a perfect segue to my next question for you, because I am always astonished at how you are so willing to ask questions and keep improving yourself and keep learning new skills. What brought you to be so hungry?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, that's a really good self-reflection question.
Should have prepped you that one in advance, huh?
I think maybe kind of going back to that first thing about, my friend giving me that feedback. After I decided that was something that I wanted to change, and seeing the profound positive impact that had, that I think that was a big changer. But then also I've always been an athlete and I've always played sports, and I played soccer. That was my favorite sport. And the reason that soccer was my favorite sport is because, which this is really with any sport, but there was always something to learn. You could never be too good or good enough or whatever. And I just loved always having a goal to strive toward. I am a very goal oriented person. And if I don't have something to work toward, then I feel lost. Like I feel like I'm running around like a chicken with my head off. So
you talked about goals. How do you set goals, or what is your tip for setting goals? Because there's, the SMART goals and the this goals and the that goals. What system works best for you and why?
I would say, being a Christian, my ultimate goal is whatever glorifies Jesus. So it kind of starts with that. And then any goal, there are constant things throughout the day that just like pop up in my head that I'm like, oh, I could totally do this. But then when I actually sit and think about it, I'm like, okay, is this something that Jesus would want me to do? Am I going to have time for this? There's a lot of different things to evaluate. But I guess when I finally decide to choose a goal, it has to do with, will this glorify the kingdom of God? And will this, kind of going along with that, will this be bigger than myself? I am not really very concerned about money or status or anything like that. I just want something that affects everyone in a positive way and changes the world. And God created us to give to others. So my goals have to affect other people in a positive way, not just myself.
So that is very profound, what you just said. There's a lot of people, especially when they, start new programs. Getting your certifications aren't cheap, right? You're putting money out there, and there's no guarantee of a return on investment, right? So you are, starting these mentorship groups and spending a lot of energy and a lot of time doing that in your own self-capital to learn, just like if you were, go to college or anything like that. But there's no guarantee with that investment back. And I think a lot of people probably fail because what they're looking for is that return, right? That guarantee that oh, I'm going to put $100 in and I need to get $101 out, right? And that is their driving force. And how I know you are going to achieve so much more is because that is not your driving focus. It's not the financial gain. It's the gain of the kingdom, like you said, but just bettering yourself and bettering others around you. And I just think that is so important for a lot of the starting entrepreneurs out there, or a lot of my audience are the network marketing type, or the side gig from home moms who I just want to make a buck. I just want to make a buck. And that's great. In a lot of these companies, you can sell the nails and maybe make a buck, but it's the purpose-driven activities that are really going to push you to that next level. So I'm really glad you said that. I know that resonates a lot with me and with what I've been working on. So it's really cool to hear you say that. Excuse me. Something I struggle with personally is allowing time for myself, and not feeling guilty about, taking time away from the kids, or, what I feel like I should be doing when I'm working on my business. I feel guilty about not spending time with the kids. When I spend time with the kids, I feel guilty not spending time working on my business. How do you do it? How do you allow your time to be someone other than just somebody's mama? How do you, balance is a terrible word, but how do you work through some of those processes? You seem to have figured it out a lot quicker than I did. What is the secret?
I don't know if this is the secret, but again, I learned everything kind of looking back to how Jesus did it. And so I guess I see myself as a priority, and like how my time is valuable so that I can be valuable to others. I used to be an EMT, and that was something that they taught us in EMT school too, was you can't save anybody if you're dead. So you have to pay attention to yourself too, and make sure that you're safe. But Jesus, even when he had the disciples with him and he was teaching and preaching to the thousands, he still took time to go and be by himself and pray and be with the Father. So he shows us that is a very important part. But also, I kind of chalk it up to efficiency too. So if we look at productivity and time management in a sort of dimensional scale, the first dimension would be the particular task that we're focused on at that moment, which would be the only thing we can do better about that particular thing is to be more efficient at it. So when I look to going to the 2D, the next step or the next dimension, which is multitasking and prioritizing, I kind of view taking care of myself efficiency thing. So if I want to do those next tasks, so for other people more efficiently and to the best of their ability, that efficiency is only going to meet its peak if I'm at my peak. Does that make sense?
No, it makes total sense. What you're saying is you have to have a full cup to pour out your cup on somebody else.
Yeah.
And you said it so much more open.
Yeah, so even Jesus says that we're meant to overflow onto others, and that's why they say the early bird gets the worm, because you have to get up and be at your best before you encounter anybody else during the day, because you need that cup not only filled, because to spill your cup would take effort, but if you're just a sitting cup with water pouring in, we're meant to, as scripture says, overflow that water. So you've got to be in a state of overflow by the time you talk to the first person you're talking to in the morning.
Good. So many good nuggets. All right. I think our time's about up here, but one last thing. If you had just one thing to share, the biggest, maybe not the biggest tip, but a tip or a secret on getting organized, juggling life, setting those priorities, what would that one last thing be that you just would really want people to know?
Okay, so the most impactful recently, that I think, so, as of right now is the most important. We were talking about, that first dimension, that second dimension, the third dimension, has been brought to my attention by an author named Rory Vaden. You can watch his TED Talk, but he has this thing called the focus funnel, which I think is just like astounding and mind blowing for taking productivity to the next level. So that would be the third dimension. And I actually have been kind of geeking out today and been like, okay, what would be the fourth dimension? But as of right now, there's only 3. So check out Rory Vaden, Procrastinate on Purpose, and his focus funnel, and where he goes into detail about that focus funnel is awesome. That would definitely be where I would start, because he goes through those first 2 tiers. So
very cool. All good stuff. So much value added. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to help our audience grow and prioritize and really, get their 2021 off to the best start possible. So I appreciate you, Shelby. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It was so fun.
This has been so much fun, and it was good to see your beautiful smiling face as always.
Great.
All right, my friend, good luck to you, and we will talk to you soon.
See ya.
Thanks, yo.